The number you think your house is worth could cost you tens of thousands of dollars during your divorce. But Zillow says my house is worth $500,000, she said with confidence. So I know exactly how much equity we have. I smiled. I just sat back and smiled. Not because she was wrong, but because I knew that number was about to influence one of the biggest financial decisions of her life. So I asked her a question. How did Zillow calculate that number? She paused. I don't know. Then I asked her another question. Is what your home would actually sell for today what Zillow told you? Then another pause. What repairs would a buyer expect? What are the closing costs? How much do you still owe on the mortgage? If you sold it tomorrow, how much money would actually end up in your bank account? By then she realized something. She didn't really know the value of her home. She only knew a number she'd seen on a website. And those are not the same thing. That's one of the biggest myths I see during divorce. People think they're negotiating over a house. They're actually negotiating over the value of an asset. And if you don't understand that value, you can't negotiate from a position of strength. I see it all the time. Someone says, we'll just split the equity 50-50. And that sounds simple until you ask them one question. 50% of what? Because equity isn't whatever number you found online. It's not what you paid for the house. It's not what your neighbor sold their house for 6 months ago. It's not even worth what someone casually mentioned during a mediation. Real equity is what's left after you understand the complete financial picture. What's the current market saying? How much is still owed on the mortgage? What repairs will affect the sale? What will it cost to sell? What concessions might a buyer ask for? How much will closing costs reduce the proceeds? Those questions matter because I've seen women make settlement decisions based on assumptions that were off by tens of thousands of dollars. Think about it. Not because anyone intended to mislead those women, but because nobody stopped long enough to ask the right question. And here's something I've learned after years in real estate. A home can be worth more than you think, or it can be worth less. But neither one matters if you don't understand what that number actually means for your situation. Because market value and usable equity are not always the same thing. That's why I believe one of the most dangerous phrases in divorce is, I think it's worth. I don't want you to make decisions based on what you think. I want you making decisions based on what you know. Because knowledge creates options. Assumptions create surprises, and surprises are expensive. So instead of asking, what is my house worth? A better question is, what's the most accurate picture of this asset so I can make the best financial decision for my future? That's a completely different conversation because your goal isn't simply to divide a house. Your goal is to protect the wealth you've spent years building. And you can't protect an asset you don't fully understand. If you're making decisions about your home during or after divorce, do not rely on online estimates, old appraisals, or assumptions about equity. Start with clarity. Schedule a decision clarity session and together we'll evaluate your property's true position, the costs that affect your equity, and the options that value creates for your future. Because one number on a screen should never determine one of the biggest financial decisions of your life. The house is an asset. Understanding its true value is the strategy. It's your girl Tisha, your real estate strategist of choice.